All right, we did a small video on variables, and then we did another on methods. And as we progress, we'll slowly keep building on that foundational knowledge. These are helpful to revisit too, and doing other coding videos, just keep coding. What we're going to do now, I think, is maybe a switch statement. So we'll start off with a basic UI, and I'll also introduce you to like a text field. So let's say that you can say, all right, let's go to UI and then Canvas. And we're going to need a couple text fields. So I'm going to create a UI text mesh pro field, and this will be question. And then I'll hit Control D on that. Actually, let's just move it up here. And it's like, what is your player's name? And then we'll change this to, oops, yeah, let's actually put this in the text field. And then what I'm going to do up here, and by the way, for main camera, I just changed it to solid color from Skybox. So if you're wondering why my background looks different. And then select your text field and just drag this out like this. What is your player's name? And then below that, we will create a empty, well, let's go ahead and create a Text Mesh Pro input field. And I'm just going to stretch this out like this and maybe make it a little bit bigger. And then this has a bunch of different inputs here. So for the text that's in the placeholder text here, it says, we'll just change it to enter name. And then we'll make this pretty big. So something like this. And that way they know to enter their name. And then for the text, we can make that, how big is this text? 70. We'll just make this like 50. I don't know how long of a name they're going to enter. This is going to be the text box that updates when this isn't here. This displays the actual text. Well, you know what? This is the text field. So this will be like how they type things in. It'll show up here. So if they type in like A, it'll show up that big. So we'll go 80 here. Change this to, we'll do 75. We'll just be safe. All right. I'm going to duplicate this question. And then we'll put this below it. And then this will be, let's move this down here. And then we'll do welcome response. And then we'll leave this blank. And let's create a new script. And we're going to call this script player name. And I think we'll just go ahead and add this to our highest level, the canvas up here. And we'll make a couple public variables that'll store the, let's not make this. Let's make this the question. That'll store the input field and then the response. And our input field has a couple options down here. If you've done any of my other tutorials and we did buttons or whatever, it's pretty similar. This is the one we want. On end edit, what'll happen is after you press enter, it'll call this. But let's go ahead and open up our, our player name script, and then we'll create two public variables that'll store our welcome response and then the text that we'll grab from here, which is the text input. All right, so here it is. Let's go ahead and delete everything on the inside and just sort of start from scratch. So I'm going to make a public variable and just call it string. And then I'm going to make a public TMP Pro. I think that's right. Is it text? No, I think it's TMP underscore text. Yeah. And then we'll call this text box. Okay, let's save that out. And then we're going to make a public variable or public method that we're going to call from that script. And we'll call this print name. We'll make this capital. Name and attribute. And inside of here, we want to do void because we're not returning any value. If you remember last time we returned a string. So a public void print name attribute. And what we want to do is we're going to do a string here, and we're going to call this input. Now, I'm going to show you in a second how we're going to set this up, but I'm going to say input text here equals input. So let's go back in and take a look at how this works. All right, so we have this canvas here, and it's currently storing an input text, and it's currently storing the text box. Now, the text box is where is the text going to be displayed? This input field has these areas. This is this is a TextMesh Pro text box. So I can actually just grab this and drop it in here. And remember what I showed you before, like it's going to actually, oh no, actually we want to do our response here. Yeah, so our welcome response here. And what this is if we go back to our script, we have this TextMesh Pro text box. And input text here is going to be equal to the text that goes inside of here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say textbox dot text equals input text. So we could, in theory, have the input here just go straight into this text box, but by having this string here, we're kind of compartmentalizing it or breaking it up. So, so how do we actually access this so that whatever input we put in will get placed into this text box that'll print this to this particular text box here? Well, if we go to our input field here, what we can do is down at the bottom, we have this on-end edit string. So if I open that up and I grab my canvas and I drop it in there, do you remember that briefly that we have this public variable called print name and attribute, and it's a string input? Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to go to player name, and then we're going to go to print name and attribute. So I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to do is after we're done entering that information and we press enter, it's going to send it to another response. So let's see if, yeah, I think that's right. So let's press play and see if this works. Enter, I hit enter, and you can see it says Alex here. So really, that's pretty good. So right now, right off the bat, you can see that we figured out how to do an input field. And like I said, what's nice about this onEdit string here is when I press enter, it'll take into account whatever it is. So like if my character's name is food, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and you can see food. So how do we make this a little bit more responsive? Well, if we go back in here, we can actually concatenate strings. So I can add a bunch of strings here, and I can hit plus, and I can say welcome player input text. So let's hit Control S to save that. And I'm going to run this one more time. Type in Alex here. It says welcome player Alex. Now say I want to, let's go ahead and take this welcome response and move it down just a little bit. And I'm going to duplicate this question here. And I'm going to actually just kind of say, let's say, what is your player's name? We'll change it to what is your player's class? And we'll just do two classes. So A, so I'm going to hit enter here. A is a wizard, and B is a cook. So what we're going to do here, and let's move our welcome response text a little bit lower. We're going to create a switch statement. And what that is it gives the player options between like A, B, and C, and then it changes based on that option. So the way, essentially, I'm going to go ahead and type this code out in between here, because what I want to do is I'm going to receive that input text here from that text box, and then I'm going to update it, and then I'm going to update this line here, which prints the information to the screen. So actually what we can do is, let's do this. Let's make another method, public void pick class. And then I'll go ahead and type this out into here so you don't have to watch me type everything out. All right, so we created a second method here, and it's public, and it's just called pick class. And it's going to take in a string as an input. And what we're going to look for is A or B. And if they don't enter a capital A or capital B, they're going to get a not valid response. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say, we're just going to spit out to the screen, to the text box, that your class name is class name, whatever the class is. So let's go ahead and save this. And let's actually add another text box for the heck of it. And then we'll attach this script to that one just to sort of compartmentalize it. So I'm going to grab this input field here. And I'm just going to, let's see. Here's this question. Let's just shift this down a little bit. Let's make sure our response is lower. And then let's just... Actually, let's do this one up here. And then let's grab this input field here and duplicate our input field. Just move it down here. And I'm going to hit T on this and just kind of scale it down. And then welcome response. Now for this one, for this input field here, we can kind of keep this the same. But instead of print name attribute, we want to do... let's see. Geez, my brain is not working. What do we name that? Public void pick class. So we want to do pick class here, which is right here. So on this first one, we'll enter a name, and then once we do that, it'll update it, and then we can pick a class. So let's see if we got this to work right. So here we do Alex, and I hit enter. It says welcome player Alex. And then what is your class? Let's say we do A. I hit enter. You could say your class is wizard. So just kind of introducing you or getting you kind of somewhat familiar with input fields, as well as this concept of the switch case statement. And so let me just run through this code on how this works. All we did is we connected it to this string input here. So if the person enters a capital A here, what we're saying is, and we can probably get rid of this. Well, no, this is what we're storing this name. We create a variable here that's just local to this method, pick class, and all it stores is the word wizard. So if the input is a capital A, class name equals wizard. If the input is a capital B, the class name is a cook. And if the class name is none of those responses, it says not valid response. And then what we have down here is it says textbox.text, which is really the same text box that's here. And we could create another text box by duplicating this variable name and just calling it a different thing. It says your class is, and then it's just pushing out class name at the end. Now I'm going to do this one last time just so you could see the not valid response. So if I uncheck this and I press play and I say, it's like, what is your thing? And it's like Leo, and then if I enter a C here and I hit enter, it says your class is not valid response. I press A, it says wizard. Press B, it says cook. So just basic idea of the switch case statement and input fields, just to kind of give you a visual representation of the class. Take notes as I go through this, go through it a couple times as we kind of continuously build out our programming knowledge.